Hey, welcome to another episode of 15 Good Minutes. I'm your co-host Marlon. We have 15 minutes just to have a conversation about a topic. If anybody, y'all remember this one song? It used to go something like this: money, 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 money. Absolutely. So, with that, we're going to be talking about finances, and I have a special guest here with me today. His name is Marquiest Gadson of GMG Sports Entertainment, and my man knows a lot about finances.
Right.
Marquiest, for me growing up, I was never taught about finances, budgeting,
right.
Knowing what to do with my money,
right.
Credit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I learned about credit. I went out to go and get an apartment.
Right.
19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
About to get me a new apartment. I'm good. I saved up a little bit of cash.
Right.
I'm thinking, okay, I'm good. I'll be able to at least put this down payment on this apartment and pay a couple of months rent. And I went to get the apartment. They were advertising $100 down, right? So went in, put in my application for it. After it came back, they were like, well, sir, you don't have any credit. I'm like, I don't have any what? You don't have any credit.
Right.
I'm like, well, I don't want any.
Right.
And they're like, I don't think you understand. You don't have any credit, and since you don't have any credit, you do not qualify for the $100 down.
Right.
You have to pay me a whole month's rent,
Right.
plus the first month's rent, all at one time.
Security deposit.
What? I'm like, this is crazy.
Right.
And so that was my first time just understanding what credit was, because growing up I was never really taught that. My parents about getting it, making it, the next check, those types of things. And so I've never really taught about finances. So this is going to be a great show. Marquiest, can you just tell me a little bit about your background? How did you get into finances? What got you to where you are right now?
Yeah. For me, I started out as an accountant. Quick little story that kind of led me to where I am today as a sports agent. Coming up, my family, mom, she didn't know about money, so it's kind of hard to kind of set the tone and teach the kids about something that someone didn't teach you about.
Right.
So for me, a lifesaver was my uncle. He owned a clothing store.
Yeah.
And my first experience was working in his clothing store, learning how to run a cash register, watching my aunt, who was his wife, do the books, and he was out on the road running around and doing production and sales and making sure he had the right items that he wants in the store. So that was my first exposure to watching a couple, a family dynamic, a family member who would say to me, hey, listen, I want you to help me with the store and do different things of that nature, but, one day I want you to go to school and become an accountant. So that was my role model. So went to college, got my degree in accounting. My minor was finance. Speeding up a little bit after college, the next steps for me, my passion was always working on Wall Street, but having a tie to sports,
That's good,
playing sports and sports being a passion for me, I wanted to kind of tie the two hand in hand. First opportunity in corporate America was working for a firm called Meta Group in Stamford, Connecticut. And after that opportunity, I got exposed to, the commute from the Bronx to Stamford, Connecticut. It wasn't that far, but I always wanted to get to Midtown. So for me, I worked my way back to the city, took an opportunity at a CPA firm called Watson Rice on Park Avenue. To me, I'm a suit guy, I like to dress. I wanted to, I was just always inspired by the movie Wall Street, the old version, not the most recent one.
All the money and everything that's dealt with in Wall
me.
Street.
Exactly. At that point in time in my career, still fairly young, being inspired by that movie, have my uncle as my role model, got a fine opportunity to work at the CPA firm, and was doing some audit work as well as some accounting work as well. And from there, got exposed to one particular audit engagement where we were partnered with, I think it was KPMG at the time. And from that particular audit engagement, it exposed me to financial audit. Watson Rice was more compliance type audit work. So when I got the first opportunity to do financial audit engagement, just talking with guys at lunch and finding out what they were doing and what inspired them, what type of financial audits were they doing. I got my first exposure to hedge funds and private equity.
Wow.
And hedge funds and private equity, you don't really find. At that time, it was fairly new.
Yeah.
You don't find a lot of young guys that were getting into it because you basically had the staff accountant, senior accounting type role within any type of company, and that was pretty what most accountants did.
Right.
But getting exposed to hedge fund and private equity accounting, it takes you to another level because you're on a different playing field. It's a different type of revenue. It's a lot of startups and investments of high net worth individuals.
Right.
So after doing that for about 6 or 7 years, I had exposure with
what was the income like during that time?
The income at that time for me was, about $80,000.
Okay, I'm just saying you don't have to tell us. I mean, just give us a good range.
That's the industry standard. About $75,000 to $80,000.
Yeah.
That's not what I made, but coming in the door,
yeah,
that's what it was about. Industry standard, about $75,000 to $80,000.
Okay.
So everyone likes money, but when you can account for your money and your dollars and knowing how to budget and knowing how to spend, when you do that for a living for someone else, it kind of makes you take a keen focus for yourself and what you're doing.
Right.
So,
right.
For me, that's really what kind of led me to say, hey, look, I always have my uncle in the back of my head, become an accountant. Dude, here's what you do, and learning how to manage money and account debits and credits and understanding where to spend your dollars and understanding that, hey, for most people, average person, in the community, there are a lot of things that people want to purchase, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're getting paid on a biweekly basis or a monthly basis, so to speak, and you're making $1, but no one's taking the time to stop and say, hey, I got a budget for this month,
Right.
Well, what happens when the rent needs to be paid on the first, and then you want to buy this nice watch or, a
so
suit
for you, right? So you're making money,
right?
You say you started at this hedge fund,
right?
So as you started out, I mean, how were you with your money, right? I mean, could you buy all the nice suits?
I could not
and if
buy.
You couldn't,
no.
What were you doing? You know what I mean? Like so how were you dressing, and what did you do with your money during that time? Did you save any at that time, or were you like, you know what? Let me get this new suit, this nice suit, because the business I'm in is good to look good, right? People know it's about money, and I got to look like I have money, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, at that time for me, I'm on the rack. I'm shopping off the rack.
Right.
I'm 6'7". I walk in a room, so my suit jacket, it has to come longer because my shirt doesn't come under. That's, pretty much if you got a bad suit on, your shirt's supposed to be at least an inch or a half under the suit. So for me, I kind of had to fake it till I make it in the suit department because I didn't have enough cash flow, to buy the nice suits that I want, But I would see the guys getting off the train and, coming up out of the subway with the nice or money suits, and that inspired me. But I had to figure out my plan to get to that level to where, hey, one day I could get my suit custom made because I can't live on the rack forever.
Exactly.
So I mean, in lieu of just taking the things that I was taught in college and the things that my uncle inspired me to do from an accounting perspective and learning how to budget my money, learning how to important. Plan and save. Savings is a huge part of it. We don't really account for what we spend until we have an issue.
Exactly.
When a bill is late, when you don't pay the rent on the first and you're trying to leverage paying the rent on the 5th or the 6th or count the gross period of how many days you got before you get that actual fee, to where down it costs you maybe $35, $50, $70 more that you didn't need to spend. So now you're out.
And so I didn't think about none of that.
Right.
I'll be honest. Like, for me, it was, if it was time to go out and buy something, I go to the mall and we could be thinking about buying one thing. I would go to the mall,
right?
And this is at a point in time in my life where I made money, my wife made money, we were good, right? In IT work, and so the money was coming in, and all we knew was we had money.
Right.
So anytime we went out to go do a purchase or go to the mall or anything like that, if we went to go get one thing, we'll end up with 10 or 20 things.
Exactly.
Like, I remember going to the mall with my wife, and we'll go in there and spend $1,000, $2,000. Sometimes upwards of almost $3,000 just because, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have anything to do.
Right.
So we didn't really think about the fact that we needed to save some money, we needed to invest some money, any of that. We didn't get that. It wasn't until we actually did a show with Michelle Singletary, right? And she's a financial advisor. I think she's been on Oprah at one point in time. She writes for news paper columns, very, very good, right? And so it was some of the things that she taught us about finances and about money, right? Every penny counts. You know, those kinds of things, right?
That's true.
Watching all of your money,
right?
And you know, some of the things she would tell us was give us stories about her children, right? So her children, she gives them allowances, but they have to budget their allowance. I don't care how old they are, right? They have to budget their allowance and let her know exactly how much, right? And make that line item, right? What is it? Charity, saving, and then spend, right? And it has to be in that order for her.
Right.
And they have to tell them 7, 6, 7 years old,
no
matter what their allowance was, they needed to come and tell her, what are you going to do with this money? How you going to budget this money, right? And so when you're not taught that growing up, it's very hard to get out of doing that, right? Because you're used to, when I got this money, now that I got it,
that's true.
Man, I'm going to spend it. It's gone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm going to buy what I could not have growing up. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was, now that I had it, I would spend it, get my bills paid, but I wasn't thinking about if a hard time came about. You know, for me, it was just, I got this money. I need to do something with it.
Right. I mean, what happens if, you know, you decide one day, you know what, this corporate America thing isn't working for me. You want to become an entrepreneur. But if you haven't been saving, you know, your whole career while you're in corporate America, it's very hard to become an entrepreneur and be successful at it. You know, like for me, I don't think there's anything wrong with allowances, but I have a different strategy. I think an allowance, the term of it, it kind of makes you become dependent of someone else giving you money. So, for example, if I work in corporate America, I'm dependent upon a paycheck. I know the 1st or the 15th, I have money coming to me. So, in my mind, the way I process it is, if I'm spending, you know, I know I'm guaranteed a paycheck. What if you have a mindset of, you know, take a business plan? Like I have my son, he creates a business plan, and he has to come to me and tell me, why should I invest in his business? And he has to give me 5 goals that kind of show me how he's going to repay me for this loan. So it's a loan. If you have that mindset as a loan, or just change the terminology from, you know, an allowance to a business loan, you're prepared to say, okay, I have to succeed at what I'm doing, because if you don't succeed, now there's a debt that I owe to someone. And what's more important of just having an outstanding debt is ruining a relationship. You know what I mean? The relationships are important to me. If I have 5 good relationships and people believe in my vision, then I can get money all day in terms of someone investing in me and then helping me to kind of take my finances from one level to the other, because they notice that I'm budgeting well, I'm doing the right things. They kind of watch me through my growth. So I don't, you know, I try to stay away from the term allowance, because for me, when I was coming up, I didn't have an allowance. You know, I went, probably sold a mixtape or something. You know what I mean? I washed the car, I took the garbage out, I helped the older lady with her groceries just to get $5 here, $5 there, because I'm helping. So, you know, when you got older, they say, okay, I remember that young man. You know, so people believe in your vision. So that's why I try to stay away from that word as it relates to, you know, allowances and budgeting and finances. But I believe if you have a good strategy and you plan accordingly, you could be successful with your finances in any facets of what you choose to do as a professional.
Yeah, that's good. So I know you have lots of different clients. What are some of the things that you tell your clients? Or put it this way, what would you consider success from one of your clients, right? You get a new client, the client, I don't know, you know, they need to understand they're at a place I was at as a young couple with my wife, and they need to understand money. Like, what would you consider success after dealing with that client for some time?
Success for us, I mean, starting out, the client has to understand is we go by legacy building. So success is legacy building for us as a firm, because sometimes depending on how you get your client in stages, you know, for example, if you have a guy coming in fresh into his career, you got a chance to really mold him, shape him, and teach him the steps from budgeting. You know, having a business manager that will handle the bill paying and getting that trust to get the power of attorney to pay the bills and, you know, meet with them on a consistent basis, whether it's quarterly, because these guys are busy throughout the course of the season. So you want to make sure that you take the time to kind of teach them and say, okay, well, here's what you're spending on a monthly basis, and here are the things that you need to take care of in terms of your budget. And it's very difficult to convince an individual who just walked into a lot of money and get them to listen to you in terms of having that trust about how to budget their monies and things of that nature. But I believe, again, that's the trust in the building of a relationship. If they see you doing some of the things that you're telling them to put into practice, it's a lot easier to kind of make things, you know, things work out.
Leading by example.
You got to lead by example. Man, and that's how you get the trust.
Absolutely. Man, you know what? We only have 15 minutes. It looks like we can go on and on talking about this.
Yeah.
You got to come back on the show.
Absolutely.
So we can talk a little bit more about finances and how this relates to other people.
Okay.
And thank you very much for watching another good episode of 15 Good Minutes. We talked about finances. We got to have Marquiest Gadson back. Again, he's of GMG Sports Entertainment. We're talking about finances. See you next time.